Season 6 with the introduction of Deadpool has been one of the better seasons in my opinion, and Deadpool being all three heroes all at once is pretty cool and it adds more variety to the gameplay. I also think it's pretty cool that the fact that he's all three roles, every single type of player can play him, whether you're a support player, tank player, or DPS player. Pretty neat stuff. The content itself has been pretty cool as well. The time score things have been pretty cool. Obviously the skins are nice and that's all entertaining. And I'm glad that they're actually improving the game somewhat. Like, I think the addition of placements was also really good. I'm also glad that they're adding more maps. However, this season's almost over, almost at least the first half, and there really hasn't been anything on ELSA, which is weird considering the fact Deadpool had more teases and hints even before the season dropped, especially with the whole situation of him jumping around every role and having people guess what he'll be. It was pretty cool. However, we haven't really got anything close to that with ELSA. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a beloved ELSA fan, but I will say, the first time I actually saw anything related to this character was back in 2017 in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and you couldn't even play her. I'm not saying they're not going to make her at least cool, because I will say Rivals has made a lot of characters that not a lot of people have known or are familiar with from like previous iterations, like the comic books. Sort of like how Cloak and Dagger, Emma Frost, Moon Knight, Blade, Squirrel are pretty good examples of like characters that the mainstream public wouldn't really know unless they read the comics, and now they actually have a selective fan base and are more popular. So I think they're pretty good at like making not well-known characters stand out more and actually have people get into them and actually know like the source material. And Rivals has always been good about introducing these characters that not a lot of people have known into the mainstream. As for her playstyle, I'm not entirely sure what she would be, but I will say for certain that she will definitely use some type of like gun, as we see like in her literal like picture, and also from like the trailer and also the gallery card we see she's obviously carrying around a gun. So I think the likelihood of her being some type of poke character, maybe hit scan, I'm pretty sure is definitely going to be hit scan. We haven't got a hit scan character in a while, so you know, definitely got to cater to an audience. She's definitely going to be some type of poke character. For the role, I'm not entirely sure. I don't think it really matters because I think the main playstyle for her is going to be hit scan, poke character, like I said. But if I were to guess, she definitely does seem, since if we're going to lean into the territory of Monster Hunter, I definitely might think that if anything, she might be a poke DPS, if anything. That's my guess, because, you know, we can't really be certain now because Deadpool is all three characters, I mean all three roles. So her role is kind of like the most uncertain out of everyone. I don't think anyone would be upset if she was like a support or a DPS. That's honestly the vibe she gives off. Support or DPS is definitely her more territory with like the guns and just like her slender build. Doesn't really give off tank. I don't think she would really have any usage of like protection. Like I said, we're leaning into the Monster Hunter type, you know, she slays monsters, so I think the DPS or support is definitely upper territory. Like I said previously, I feel like she's definitely going to be a poke hit scan character. I don't think it matters if it hit scan or projectile. She's definitely going to be poke with her weapons, but I will say her appearance alone compared to Deadpool, obviously you know anything about Deadpool, he's loudmouth, he's very in your face, and even his playstyle just kind of, you know, reflects that. He's making a lot of comments, you know, he's arguing with the Galacta mid-game. His abilities just cause mini versions of him to just appear on the screen. There's just so much clutter. And yeah, I will say he's definitely like, I think the more accurate portrayal of anyone in this game for sure is Deadpool. He's the most like one of the most obnoxious and annoying characters in a good way, I think, in this game. It also helps that he's like a dive character too. You know, his best playstyle is like a dive character, just getting all the attention on him, trying to do like heavy bursts of damage, and I think he really excels at that. You know, he's making, like I said, a lot of comments with Galacta. He's asking if the Lord icon does bonus damage, all that stuff. So I think in terms of their character, ELSA will obviously be a complete opposite of Deadpool. We can even see it in the gallery loading screen thing for the new map, that Deadpool is more comedic, he's more in your face, he's definitely taking more of the brunt of like the damage. But we see ELSA, you know, she's slaying the monsters more elegantly, she's more refined, she's more like put together, and I think her playstyle is going to definitely reflect that. You know, she's probably going to be some type of sniper character, maybe excels at like long range. But I definitely feel like her playstyle will reflect her character, and that is just being more elegant, more refined compared to like Deadpool. So I think that's pretty cool, and I hope they actually do lean into that, because I will say Rivals has their characters are very unique. I think all the heroes themselves, none of them play the same. Ignoring the how strong they are, they're obviously all different, and I think that also helps the fact they're Marvel characters. You know, all these characters from this universe are so unique. They all have different abilities, so it would kind of not really make much sense if they all played, you know, identical. So I think it's really cool that they're all different, but I'm not worried about these characters being remotely like identical. They've always made characters that are completely different, and they all have a learning curve. Some obviously greater than others. I don't think every character in this game has a super deep learning curve. There's definitely characters that you can literally just give, you know, your little cousin to. Whether it's good or bad, you know, that's not the point of this video. I don't really care for that. I will say, I do think if a character is super easy, you can definitely, I think they definitely shouldn't be, you know, overpowered. You know, they can obviously be an entry-level character like Scarlet Witch or something, but I don't think it makes sense for them to be super overpowered. Rambling aside and back to the main point, speaking about Elsa, I will say she does give off the impression people will like her, solely due to the fact her appearance is really well done. I think they always do a fantastic job with everyone's default appearances. Obviously, you can argue some are not completely comic accurate. That's totally fine. But I do say for like the general audience, their shape and just the superhero costumes, and you can tell who they are, have been really well done. Elsa definitely gives off the impression that she's a monster hunter, and that alone I feel like people will gravitate towards because she just looks cool. People will play a cool character no matter what. Hopefully she plays well, but I do think her appearance alone will drag many people in, even if they don't really know much about her, which is a lot of people, because, you know, she just looks well put together. I like her hair, her weapons look really cool, her outfit really looks something similar to what a monster hunter would wear, maybe something from like a Van Helsing movie, obviously with more color because this is comic books, but she does look really well. They always do a fantastic job with the design, and honestly I just hope they do a good job with her. I also think what would help her grow in popularity is her voice lines. Some of the voice lines in this game are really like iconic and they stand out a lot, so hopefully the voice actor does a good job. I also think if her school, obviously if her skins are really cool, people will buy them. That's like the main thing. If her skins will sell, people are just gonna, you know, immediately gravitate towards. That's just kind of how these games go. But here I just kind of want to give like a quick summary of Elsa Bloodstone that I found out. As we know, she's an English monster hunter, and that choker in her character model actually is the reason why she has powers. Her powers include superhuman strength, durability, and a healing factor, plus she's also really good at using guns. Also, her and Deadpool actually had a small run together in 2019, and it does really look interesting. Also, Jeff is in that comic run, so it's pretty cool, I guess. In the end, I'm sure when she actually gets released, she will gain more traction, but I do hope it's not a Season 3 situation where Jean Grey was the only good hero and Blade was just completely garbage. But NetEase has been pretty good at making the heroes somewhat balanced on release. I feel after Season 3, most characters have been playable. You know, Season 4, Angela and Daredevil. Obviously, Daredevil was the stronger of the two, but Angela has, you know, she's definitely climbed up in the ranks of like how good a hero is. She's definitely much better, and even on release she wasn't horrible. She obviously had her niche, and in Season 5 we had Rogue and Gambit. Gambit obviously being the much better character than Rogue, but Rogue is also really good and also really fun. So yeah, and also Deadpool, as we know in Season 6, one of the coolest characters and very, you know, unique and versatile, being all three roles. But I think that's really cool. If you are excited to see Elsa or even just learn about her, let me know in the comments, and if you want to see anything about her, just also share your thoughts as well, and I'll catch you guys next time.